I would say, on the main content of the InnOFoodLabs project. This is driven by three main elements. The one element is small-scale food processing. With careful processing techniques and sustainable reusable packaging. This is one of the innovation focus within the overall project. The COP, the Community of Practice, is embedded, and the webinar we are running this evening. The second innovation themes is reconnecting farmers and food processors. So it's a better collaboration between farmers and food processors on local level, but even together with public kitchens or restaurants and things like that. And the third themes for innovation is innovative supply chain and distribution models. This means new collaboration forms between citizen and local food actors, or a communication and marketing concept. So that are the three, I would say, the three areas where this project is working together with a number of initiatives. And here I can give you a quick overview where we are with these initiatives. So we have 9 European countries. You see it in green color on your screen now, where we have 12 living labs. And these 12 living labs in those 9 countries, they are implementing in their practice 23 innovations, different innovations based on those themes we have discussed a minute ago. Then what we will do is to implement this innovation within this in the practical rollout by the living labs, and assess the impact of the innovation on sustainability, but even on business models and other elements important for the success of those innovations within the organic local food systems. And for sure, we want to discover and support innovation potential for the living labs. And finally, this is where we are here with the Community of Practice. This is should be used as an element to inspire other actors, even active with local organic food systems, to learn from this kind of innovations. And so we are starting with the Community of Practice, where you are apart from. We are starting to share, give insights to the exercises we are doing with the living labs. Later, we will give insights to the research results we have taken, and discuss with you what success means, discuss with you how to go forward. Yes, and finally, it's very important, and even this, therefore, we will record this seminar, and even we will we'll make a small film out of it. For sure, communication is extremely important for disseminate and make this results and these thoughts brought forward, available for as many people as possible, for support implementation of organic local food systems. This is the main target of the project here. So that's a quick overview on the InnOFoodLabs project, which will run 4 years, and we will keep you updated via the channel you have registered for, which is called the Community of Practice. So I can introduce Bernard Lignon from SYNABIO. He is working since 7 years as a regulatory and quality manager in SYNABIO. SYNABIO is, as maybe some of you already know, a trade association of French organic processors. It has over 200 members and combined turnover from more than 500 billion euros in organics. Bernard previously worked as Director of Quality Regulation and Development in Ecotone, and Bernhard is the member of the IFOAM EU board representing the processors. Very nice, Bernard, to have you this afternoon with us and to make use out of your competence and experience. And the second speaker we have is Rodolphe Vidal. He is working for almost 15 years for ITAB, the French Research Institute for Organic Food and Farming. Main activities focus on characterization of quality from raw products to processed foods, and the evaluation of organic food on food systems and human health. And ITAB is also coordinating a national thematic network on dedication on processed organic food called RMT. Yes, even Rodolphe, thank you very much for having prepared this meeting and giving an input now. Now, Bernard, you will start. I give you the word. I will maybe announce for the audience Bernard and Rodolphe will do the presentation together, and after the presentation, you will have the chance to put forward questions and we can debate what was presented by them. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexander. Happy to share this moment with all of you. So, before to go in detail, in order to explain the link between organic process and the local food system, it seems important for us to have a look on organic processing. What does it mean? And so it means a lot. It means to be compliant with the principle and general rules, but on specific principle, but more than regulation. It's a part of holistic and systemic approach. So, of course, we will speak about organic food system, but organic system is for food processor is included in a broader approach, and especially in the principle of organic farming defined by IFOAM at EU or international level, with 4 pillars: the principle of health, the principle of ecology, the principle of fairness, and the principle of care. And so these 4 pillars, which define the principle of organic farming, give us the underlying principle of the organic food system. So first point, organic processing should be in compliance with the principle of organic production, especially Article 4 concerning objectives. And one important objective is to encourage short distribution channels and local production. So that's first link with a local system. It should be compliant with the general principle in order to respond to consumer demand and to adapt to regional difference. And that's a principle, but it should be compliant with the general rules too, especially with ionization radiation, which should not be used, and to the point concerning the GMO, which are forbidden. Okay, so but it should be compliance with specific principle, and especially in Article 7. This small article is very important and useful for a producer because it defines that the production of processed organic food shall be based on, in particular, on several points, especially to be composed by organic food. It's a base, and sometimes we should remember this point. Very important because it's so natural that we forget it, and we will take benefits of this organic agriculture ingredients. But of course, you cannot use only organic agriculture ingredients. You can, in some case, use some food additives. But the food additives and processing aids are limited. So there are restrictions. You can use it, but it's limited. In fact, the third point is exclusion of a substance and processing method that might misleading as regard to the true nature of the product. Said in other words, it means that natural approach is very important. Important for the processor, but for the consumer too. And for that, there are some restrictions concerning the chemical process. And the process should be based on biological, mechanical, and physical methods, especially. And of course, the last point was a new point in the new regulation is exclusion of engineered nanomaterials. So all these points should be taken into account in order to process organic food. It's a real natural approach because, of course, you can use some additives, but at maximum, it's only 5%. And there are some restrictions we will see later. Synthetic flowering are prohibited, for example, and no use of micronutriments, coloring, or ion exchanges resin, except for baby food, are accepted. So, if we take the example of additive and we compare additive authorized in the global general food in UA, we have very few additive authorized in organic regulation. We have only 60 additive which could be used in organic food, and so there are less than the 340 additive authorized in the general regulation. And it's not only a number which is limited, it's limited functionality, and some natural form are preferred, and some of these additives should be organic, because there is a limited number of additives, but a larger number of additional requirements to use it. So some are just restricted to certain food categories. Some are we can use it for all type of product, but some are very restricted for only animal product or vegetable product, and sometimes only for one type of product. And sometimes this additive should be organic. Of course, as I said before, there is a quantity limited to 5%, except if they are organic. And of course, as they have to comply with rules, no GMO origin are accepted. And I will give the floor to Rodolphe to follow.
Okay, thank you, Bernard. Hello, everyone. I will go a little bit deeper in the rules you have to follow on the formulation of organic product. If you want to have the organic logo on your food packaging, you have to follow some rules, and it can be summarized in this little picture. The product should contain mostly agricultural ingredients. It have to come from agriculture. For more than half of the product. These ingredients have to be organic. If an ingredient cannot be found in organic quality, you can use non-organic ingredient only if this ingredient is listed in Annex 5, Part B of the organic regulation. If it's not listed, you can ask for a national derogation, but you have to argument the demand. So you see, there is a very strict rules to follow, and mostly it includes agricultural ingredients and mostly organic ingredients. Only 5% max non-organic ingredients could be in the product. Other rules is that the water and salt are not in the scope of the calculus, and the technological aids, as in the general food regulation, not have to be taken into account. So you see there is a lot of formulation that you can cover with these rules. And I will go a little bit further on. I will describe what is ultra-processed food. Ultra-processed food is based on NOVA classification, which have been described by a Brazilian research team a decade ago, where 4 levels of processing are described. The first level includes raw ingredients. The second is more culinary ingredients like oil or butter, and the third one is simply processed food. And then the level 4 includes foods highly formulated with ingredients that you don't have in your kitchen or in your food store. It includes mostly additive that you cannot find easily in your food store. The ultra processed food is a concept interesting because nowadays you can see that a third of daily calories intake come from this ultra processed food in France, and it's worse in the US. It represents 60% in the US and more than 78% in the Netherlands, in Germany, and almost the two-thirds in Spain. The products the most contributing to ultra-processed food consumption are sweet products, sweet drinks, ultra-processed food and vegetable, and breakfast cereals. Why it is important to take it into account? Because it is linked, the ultra-processed food is linked to health issue. So it's interesting to see this classification. And some studies have been done. I will present here studies made by Desquilbet and Al in 2018, and it compare what you can see in store in different distribution channel and between organic food and conventional food. The offer of organic product is less ultra-processed and more unprocessed and raw than the traditional offer, and the difference is more important when sold in organic store. You can see at the right on the picture that you have more Nova 1 products in the organic product in organic store. In traditional store, where you can find either organic or non-organic products, the organic offer is less processed according to Nova, but the difference is weaker, it's lighter than in special stores. Another way to say that is that the organic food in standard shops look like more the conventional food in terms of processing. So you can see a degree of processed product between the specialized store and the conventional traditional store. But it doesn't reflect the purchase behavior nor the exposition of the consumer. It only reflects the offer. So we have to study further if you want to study the exposition. As you see, organic labeling can reflect different type of products and different level of naturality, and you can push at this maximum, this naturality, or just fits to the regulation. Organic processing is a part of a systemic approach and must fulfill at least a declaration of organic status, inspection at least once a year by an independent certifying body, full traceability, separation in space and time, preventive measure, clear and specific labeling. But it gives the freedom to develop a broad type of products.
Okay, I will take the floor. Thank you, Rodolphe. So, what is the role of processing in local organic food system? We will present you a holistic quality approach and some example of local adapted process or situation, and decentralization. I mean, resident food system. Okay, so I'm working from SYNABIO, as Alex said before, and we define the sustainable organic food diet. We consider the context that if you have a look on environment issue, environmental emergency, climate crisis, biodiversity loss, or if you have a look on the health issue and all the diet related to chronic disease linked to the diet, of course, and but the economical organic market when we work on this definition, there was a loss of reference points for consumer, and they don't understand why they have to pay the organic food more than it was more expensive than the conventional one, and they don't understand why they have to pay more and what was perceived values to explain this difference of price. There was in France, but it's probably in other countries, a lot of different logos, different, and a big confusion for the consumer. So we decide to have a definition of sustainable organic food because, in fact, there are organic rules in the regulation, but not anything concerning sustainable organic food diet. So for us, sustainable food diet is a food diet from organic farming that choose to perpetuate living world for the well-being of current and future generation and the health of the planet. This diet is based on 4 pillars, quite similar to the pillar presented by the IFOAM pillars. Sorry. The first one is the preservation of the environment, the climate, and the biodiversity through organic farming. The second one is the health of farmers and eaters. We don't speak about consumer, but eaters, by offering healthy, nutritious, and enjoyable food. Third point, the construction of a coherent and equitable food chain anchored in an economic reality. And last one, the ethical and social approach, of course, to all links from the farm to the fork. And so all these pillars you could find here are supported by, I think it's 35 or something like that, stakes, which are different and which are supported by concrete action. I think we have around 200 action in order to give life to this definition. And we are putting in place all this action step by step in order to help our members to have this broad approach. And I give you the floor again, Rodolphe. Rodolphe?
Rodolphe, you have the word. Can you switch on?
Sorry. Yeah, yeah, so it can be a way of reconnected community. For example, full ripeness harvest should be sold and consumed quickly, but it provides more tasty and nutritional food. However, the system should be well balanced between producer and consumer, otherwise waste can happen. Another example is the organic local food system also have positive impact on local community. If you don't use synthetic pesticide, you avoid polluting soil and water, and thus you can reduce the cost of water treatment to provide drinkable water and biodiversity loss. This is some locally adapted example to see how organic food system can impact the local system. Organic and local food system leads to a more resilient system. We can use the following example: more autonomy, like more autonomy. Feeding animals with local organic produce is a requirement in the regulation, but it also gives manure to fertilize crops. Another example is to use biodiversity and prophylaxis to avoid pesticides, which lead to a better preservation of the ecosystem and use ecological regulation. Another example is to use rare breeds, which give a typicity to some food products.
So we speak about theory, concept, and regulation, but we will present you some real-life example. I will start with an example of a town in France, which is called Courton-la-Meurdrac. So it's a quite small town, but we have some other example. And there is a very strong link between organic food processing and local demand. And there are multi-criteria which are at the beginning of this story, because local political people take into consideration public health issue, soil and water contamination, and the loss of biodiversity. And so all these challenges guide their action. We should note that it takes time to put in place this kind of process. They start in 2003. In 2014, the 50% of the products were organic and local, and 100% in 2017. So they have organic approach, but local approach too. And since 2020, they source all their organic yogurts and cheese from supplier located at only 15 kilometers from the town. They took, of course, into consideration the price and the cost, and they assume the fact that there is additional cost, but not so big. And they say that it's not to the family to pay this difference, but it is to the town, and so they take into account all the cost. And they explain that this experience was possible because there was a real collective commitment of the elected representative with the staff and supplier, and through the effective supply chain management, and be very low food waste. So it's important to precise that the people are the key success of this kind of example. And Rodolphe, if you want to explain the Le Valentin.
Yeah, I will introduce you shortly the French Living Lab of this project. It is the Valentin. I will explain it very quickly because it will be detailed in the 11th of June during a national webinar. I invite you to follow. It is an agricultural lycée. It means it's dedicated to young students in France to make agricultural studies. It is an organic farm with pedagogic purposes, an organic farm of 65 hectares, which produce milk and fruit, mostly apple. It also produces some grape for wine making. But what is specific with this lycée, they also have a process line, and they process their raw product. They process milk into yogurt and apple into puree. They obtain product. The obtained products are sold locally at the farm shop, but also to the catering for the students and a little wider at the national level. Organic in public catering is pushed by a national law, a national policy called EGalim, where 20% of organic product is value should be reached in public catering. The lycée have been asked to develop other type of dairy product for catering, like crème desserts, which is a sweet dairy without fermentation. So they had to find a recipe and study the feasibility within their processing lab and see how much will it cost, including the investment in machinery if needed. We can dive into the detail of the recipe to obtain the desired texture. Many functional ingredients and or additive could be used. As formerly described, there is a risk even in organic to be tagged or flagged as ultra-processed food. So they have to find a recipe which can reach their objective, but also to be flagged as much as possible as organic, as in the philosophy organic processing. So you can use functional ingredients like starch from wheat, maize, cassava, rice, milk product, which is also an ingredient, but you can also use additive. If you focus of which kind of ingredient or additive you can use, we made a benchmark of what is done in the market. And you can see some products which are labeled as clean label, which is mean with no E number, without additive, and which use starch like wheat, maize, cassava, and rice, or milk powder, or both. And you can also have some food product, organic food product, which use additive. The most used additive to make a creme dessert is carrageenan. But you can also see some product with xanthan gum, pectin, sodium citrate, flour from locusta, carob, or also lecithin. I would like to ask you, do you think there is a preference from a functional ingredient or an additive? Would you consider as a consumer one is best or worst? And from what point of view do you consider it better or worst? Technical or ethical, or just a marketing point of view. As you can see, there is a formulation issue, but you can also go further and think very systemic approach. And you can rely on raw material to achieve the right texture. And we can get the right texture directly from the quality of the milk, with more fat, like from Jersey's races, which give a more fatty milk and which can give the texture to your creme dessert. But this change in the production system would be much more impactful and maybe harder to achieve because it changes the whole system from the very beginning. But it also gives an autonomy in input if you don't need the functional ingredient anymore, and you can achieve the right texture without input, external input. In the same philosophy, you, as a local approach, to what extent you can go. There is also a question on the flavoring. We can have, should we stick to the common flavor? Common flavor, I mean chocolate or vanilla, which are from long distance origin, and you cannot be sure of the sourcing. The prices can fluctuate. Or could we make a typical product reflecting the territory? Here I put the example of châtaigne, which is a geographical protected appellation from just around the lycée, and which can be used as a flavor for a typical flavor. So to what extent organic processing should go? Is there some border organic processors should not cross? Is there some ways they have to go through? This is a question for the discussion.
Okay.
So
it looks good. I want to test it.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Rodolphe. You please stop your sharing the presentation, and then we can start with a debate. And it's your turn, dear audience, because I think Rodolphe already addressed the question where you see maybe borders between, I would say, functional ingredients and I would say a systemic approach to how to say optimize the raw material by agricultural measures, in fact, or where you see the borderlines between having, I would say, marketable recipes, and I would say completely new recipes based on raw materials only from the region. What is your opinion on that? Please, you have now the floor. You have two possibilities: look at the chat or raise your hand.
I was just wondering if you use additives in organic processing, we should maybe also keep in mind how much the additives are already processed. So when I saw the list Rodolphe shared, that came to my mind, like which one of these is maybe less processed.
Mhm.
This is a question to Rodolphe, maybe if you
That's a
how
good
do you
point,
judge
Sabrina.
that? Yeah.
But I'm wondering if consumers are aware of the processing degree of the additive. Do you when you see, do you have an idea when you see this list which one will be more processed and the one you have to avoid or not? As a consumer, you are not the typical consumer, I believe, but maybe you can make a choice and give some clue.
And some of these those additives can be organic, by the way. Yeah, so I think you can clearly see some of the additives are, I would say, they have a relatively low, in brackets, I would say, processing impact, and others are massively processed, massively extracted. So it is very different what we see in front of us when we see the ingredients list and the additives lists. And I think that is, for the consumers, it is extremely complex to understand and to distinguish what kind of additives could be maybe close to a natural food or are natural foods, by the way, and whether those additives are very highly processed, nearly artificial substances. So, but Bernard, you have an idea on that? Please go ahead.
In fact, I think that some consumers don't know what is additives. And when they are reading ingredient list, they don't care. Sometimes they don't read, and they don't know, they don't understand. So that's the first point. The second point is that additives are not the devil. And sometimes, as Alexander precised, it's organic ingredients. And so I think that people don't use additives for only for the pleasure, because sometimes it's a real help on a technical point of view. So, but we should be careful to limit the kind of additive and the type of process in order to obtain these additives too.
Thank you, Bernard. I see there is something in the chat. Julia, can you read it up? Read it down?
Yes, it's from Anna Mara Schön. She asks, or she said, I just saw in a documentary that simple sugars such as fructose, which is often used in organic products, sweetener derived from apples, etc., develop carcinogenic substances more quickly when heated than it would be the case with beet or cane sugar. How do you deal with this?
Rodolphe, it's a topic for you. Have you an
Anyone
idea?
heard about that?
I didn't know this data, this information, but when we are talking about ultra transformation in France, it's sometimes some ingredients which are very different from the raw material. And if you take saccharose, in nature, there is no saccharose. And there are a lot of process. And at the end, saccharose is quite the most simple chemical form. So it could be called ultra transformation ingredients. So what I want to say by that is we should not say, okay, ultra transformation is only big society, big company for food processing. It could be different type of ingredients, and so that's why. But everything is not dangerous. we have to learn and to have more data, scientific data, in order to take into account and to avoid this kind of ingredients, or to have a good balance between benefits and risk.
Thank you, Bernard. Maybe I can correct one element. Fructose used in industrial processes is normally not coming from fruits. It's normally coming as a product from starch. So from potatoes, corn, and things like that. So it is mainly done by a completely different process. But this is only a side information. Julia, there's another question I see here. Can you read it down?
Yes, it's a GMO question concerning prohibition on GMO. We will on GMO, how we will take care about NGT if they will come on board. As now for plants on EU level is in preparation, is also legislation for GMO microorganisms using in NGT.
Okay.
Thank you for this question. Bernard, you would like to continue?
Yeah, because it's a topic I really like. It's a complex one, but because today it seems that we don't have any analytic process in order to determine if the plant is coming from NTG or not. But it will be forbidden in for organic sectors, and we have already some process traceability, because there is no or Rodolphe will say in some specific context, we have no analysis in order to say this raw material is organic or not. We know that this organic, that the raw material is organic because there is traceability, there are some control, etc. So it will be up to us, organic area, to put in place traceability in order to explain to the consumer that normally we don't use this kind of ingredients. This is different to say we don't use than to say we don't have any contamination, because it's like for pesticide, it's impossible to avoid all type of contamination, and especially if you are not able to have an analytic process in order to determine if there is a presence of NTG plant or not. But to be honest, I think that the big company who will send this kind of ingredients and will have patents, they probably know how to say we are able to define if these ingredients contain some ingredients where we have put patents.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Rodolphe, Bernard, thank you very much. Okay, there are more questions. Maybe I have a question, maybe to another question, as long the audience is thinking about nice other questions. I would like to ask you whether you see the NOVA classification, the system of ultra-high processed, in a connection to careful processing, where you see the connection. Because in organic regulation, we always speak about careful processing or sometimes mild processing, and this terminology is not really well, I would say, well described in detail. Do you see a link here, and if, what is the link?
There is a link, but there is also controversy on ultra process classification, because it's more a reflection of a formulation. The marker of ultra processed food are more focused on the ingredient and the additive. It is easier to know what's inside the food in terms of ingredients than in terms of process. Process is less transparent. It's very difficult to know how your food is made in very detail, and the process is confidential mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a link, but it's not exactly the same, and it's not an exact opposite, I would say.
Okay.
And in France, ANSES, it's Food Security Administration, write a report on this topic. And but they were more focused on the process, and it was interesting because, as Rodolphe said, in general, people, when they are talking about NOVA, ultra transformation, they are talking about ingredients, additives, etc., etc. But in this case, it was focused on the process. And they explained that depending on the process, you could have some new contaminants linked to the process. But they were not so easy to say, are these kind of new contaminants dangerous or not? So we are just at the beginning, but we should take into account all this data in order to be able to anticipate as much as possible.
Thank you, Bernard. Maybe I can share my thoughts on it. I think there is a certain evidence that nutrition-based disease are linked to the process, I would say the type of processing. And this is what is in a way new. So here I think the research is really going into the deep to understand how this connection looks like between, I would say, negative or bad, unhealthy consumption patterns and a degree of processing. And I agree completely with Rodolphe, processing methodologies used is completely intransparent for the consumers and even for the specialists. It's I would say, a very complex and intransparent processes happens. But now we have new questions. That's good, Julia. Please provide us these questions.
We have new questions, but the first one or the first comment was on the first sugar question, another remark, which says, I remember the right term now, it was acrylamide. See, for instance, the Maillard reaction. Acrylamide develops during the browning process when the amino acid asparagine reacts with natural occurring sugars like glucose or fructose at temperatures above 120 degrees. So less acrylamide develops when using beet sugar instead of sugar from apples, etc. So there was a remark. So I think not a question. Yes.
There was,
but
there was not another.
Yes, there is another, but I thought maybe someone wants to say something to that comment. Yes, but
some comment from Bernard, or I think this is a right description of the situation. Reduction of sugars together with asparaginase will create amylo.
It kept me in mind that I've got some information from a member who said, be careful if you are using full grain. The impact of Maillard reaction is higher. So you have to choose between sometimes one hazard and another one, because on the other hand, to use full grain is better. The content of fiber is higher, and it's better for the nutritional aspect. So sometimes you have to keep in mind all this holistic approach for the hazard too, and to say, okay, I should take into account and to decide where is the best choice, where is the best balance between this ingredient, this one, this process, etc., etc. But in final, you don't eat only one food. You eat a lot of food, and it's a combination of all this food with this good diet.
Okay, thank you, Bernard. A good description of, I would say, this complicated situation in the Beck as as more holistic your recipe, as more problems with acrylamide in some systems. If you use honey and wholesome grain, then you have a problem. So, but then let's go for the next.
Yes.
Next, there is even a question in the
Yes,
hands up. Or would
No,
you first go for the chat? Okay, first
Yes,
go for
first
the
go
chat
for
and
the
then
chat.
hands up. We have one hands up. Okay.
Okay.
Julie?
I often see no attention paid to the environmental impact of the packaging of organic food, both fresh and processed, which is to me quite inconsistent. Will it be addressed in the project?
Okay.
So in our definition at SYNABIO level, it's one point, it's a one stake. I present you the definition based on 4 pillars, and there are 35 at stake which are defining all these pillars, and packaging is one topic, of course, and there is some link between, of course, packaging and environmental issue, but on packaging and health issue. So you have to take a good balance between all these points.
Mhm. Okay. I can answer for the InnOFoodLabs projects. There are even tests with packaging. I have not the full overview what it actually means, but I would like to. What is exactly this test? I have not a close connection to those living labs testing this. But in general, I would like to remark that if you have local food distribution systems, you often have the chance to avoid or even circle packaging systems. So you have a lot of, and even the keeping times need to be not as long as if you have long transportation or long distribution channels. So it's really a chance for having or addressing working with improved packaging systems with less environmental impact. So but I have not a complete, maybe if Rainer, you have an overview on these packaging tests we're doing in the project?
Actually, the Swiss Living Lab changed the innovation, unfortunately, for
Okay.
the food packaging. But
there's a comment in the chat
Yeah.
from Tatiana that it's being addressed in InnOFoodLabs in Terra Nostra, which is a living lab in Mallorca. Exactly. So yes, the topic is addressed in our project.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, of course, it's really important because it's the first communication to the consumer, the packaging. It's the first thing you will judge a product, and that's why it's really important to address it, and also health issues like chemical migration. But like Bernard said, it's also a trade-off about shelf life, also sometimes healthy concerns, because mineral oils could also transfer into the food, so it's also a health barrier, and so on. So yeah, but we will address that hopefully in the project.
Okay, thank you, Ivrana. Thank you, all. Nina. There was one hand up or one raised hand. He is now gone again. Is this lady or not any more interested to speak up?
That was my question. I got already my answer actually. My question was, to be true, to be honest, I don't have like the background you have experienced actually. I'm very fresh to organic farming, organic agriculture, and my question was why the organic products are more expensive than traditional one, even the less chemical uses, and I already got my answer from you because of the processing, packaging expenses. Yeah, that kind of reasons. I already got my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. So maybe we can go ahead with Julia with this chat. There are more. I see more comments or more questions. Could you?
There are more comments, but not more questions.
Not more questions. Okay. Yes, okay, we have here, I see there is information on Terra Nostra, there is more comment on asparagine. on the acrylamide problem. Okay, I see. Okay.
And just to react on the price,
Yes,
here,
please.
because the sound was not so good, but I understand that it was a concern of this woman. Of course, you can say that organic products are more expensive, but it depends if you include some other costs. If you include for conventional products the cost of depolluting water, for example, and if you include the cost for health linked to the ultra transformation type of product, etc., etc. So at the end, there is not so big difference, and sometimes you can find some products, some organic products cheaper than the conventional one, because locally product. When I show the example of the town, we decide to have organic local food for the school. The price was not so, the difference of price was not so high. And there are some examples in France where the price is quite the same, or even no difference. So it depends. What do you compare? If you compare Apple with another one, or if you compare Coca-Cola with another soft drink. The more the product is complex and there are ingredients, etc., etc., the more the difference of price could be important. But it's not so simple to say it's more expensive or cheaper.
Thank you, Bernard. Maybe I will come with some, because there are no more questions I see, and I would like to highlight to the audience here that we are at the beginning of the InnOFoodLabs project. It started in September last year, so we are now starting to roll out all the initiatives, and you have registered for the COP Community of Practice, and during this. It's a 4 years project. We will keep you informed. If you are registered, you have the chance to meet the webinars. You will have the chance to join national meetings of the national COP activities, and you will have the chance to join the study tours to the living labs, where you can see at site what they are doing, what the living lab is exactly, what the innovation is, how the results looks like. So, and this is the advantage here with this InnOFoodLabs project to how to say, to follow as somebody from outside a bit the research in life, or nearly life, yeah, and this is what we want to provide. And therefore, if we are here now at the beginning, we have not so much results. We are now starting to roll out the innovations, but during the process of the project, we will give you more and more insights into the results, and you will once again have the chance to have a look in, discuss with us on the findings, even on the assessments we are doing, and we try our best to involve you as good as we can. Therefore, I have now the pleasure to ask Nina, taking the floor for the next Excali-Draw exercise, where we ask you for more interactive feedbacks on different questions, which will Nina introduce. Nina, you have the floor.
Yes, once again. So once again, I sent the link to Excali-Draw in the chat for those who have already left the environment, or for those who haven't found it yet. So I invite you all to click on there again. By now you have heard a lot about what we think organic processing is all about. Now we would really like to hear your perception of organic food processing. As you are coming from very diverse regions, cultures, and professions, we think it is very important to listen to your thoughts, your opinions, and your ideas to establish an exchange on this topic. For that, we have prepared 4 questions in Excali-Draw, and now I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, I see already some more people here around. So yeah, you find the questions in the fourth box. The first question we have for you is, what does organic food quality mean to you? The second question is, what aspect of organic food quality is most important in processing? Then the third question we want to ask you is, what is the most important advantage for processors in local organic food systems? And then also to the challenges. The fourth question is, what is the biggest challenge for processors in local organic food systems? So I see that most of you have typed everything they want to type. Thank you very much for all this input. We are looking forward to reading all your comments in depth, sorting them, and then feeding them back to the community of practice in a summarized form. Now, Alex, floor is yours again.
Yes, thank you, Nina, for moderating this exchange. Thank you for the audience being so active, and I see a lot of comments, and for sure we will afterwards take a look in. But I now have the rule to summarize a bit what we have heard today. I would like to remind you that we heard that local organic food system is already set in the principle of organic regulation. I think this is coming from the last revision round, where it was clearly stated that local food systems should be, how to say, enforced, something like this. And Bernard was reminding us on that. I think it was very important. And then we have heard about I would say, the legal framework and the restriction toward the processing concept as such. Then we heard about the concept of naturalness, which is, I would say, the basic of the organic regulation, to be careful with additives, with processing aids, with all kind, and even is excluding some of the technologies. We heard about GMOs, ionization radiation, or nanotechnology, and we learned a bit about the ultra processed food, the NOVA classification, that could maybe have something, or that has something to do with naturalness, which is in the background of the organic regulation, the concept, and maybe is even linked to the careful processing terminology used in organic regulation, which will be further explored, I think, in the next years. And I can share with you the information that within the nutrition science community, it's, I would say, intensively debated what to do with this NOVA classification, how to understand it and how to use it. And then we learned about the sustainable organic food diet, which is established by the colleagues from SYNABIO. I thought this was quite inspiring to think about what could be a sustainable organic food diet, what it means, and how this can be implemented by actors, market actors. It means by processors or traders, or I would say initiatives working at local level for organic food systems. And then we made a quick look into decentralization concepts for food supply, which has to do with resilience, fitting very well into, I would say, the overall concept on resilient economical system, but especially on resilient food systems, which is popping up more and more in Europe. And I always remind, for me personally, always book Small is Beautiful. Maybe some of you is reminding on that. It's an old book where this concept was already written very nice by a British author. Yeah, and finally we end up with a number of examples where the colleagues try to demonstrate what cornerstones could be and what concepts could carry organic local food systems. And we had a nice look into the InnOFoodLab project when we took a look into the project, the Living Lab in France, where it is about optimization, and we heard about, I would say, more the approach about functional ingredients, or to how to work with the raw materials, and all these elements are, or especially the last element, how to find a systematic approach. This is something typical for regional activity. Then here you can find an answer in your region. Then. And we discussed a bit the I would say the borderlines of concepts of regionality and organic. Then we had a nice discussion on different things from novel genetic technologies to acrylamide to transparency, and fructose. So we had different topics at the desk. Thank you for that. And now I will go for my last slides. First of all, I share this slide with you, and I hope you can see it. So we will like to invite those of you who are maybe not member of the COP, of the Community of Practice within the InnOFoodLabs project.
We cannot see
Alex?
your
You cannot see?
presentation.
Okay, sorry. Wait a second. No, sorry, I was not.
Yes.
I missed one click. Sorry for that. So thank you very much. So here, once again, for those not already registered for the Community of Practice, please register. You find here the link. You can take a QR code. You can take a photo if you wish. And what we can offer, and that was already described several times during the seminar, we can offer this exchange on international and national level. Via webinars, or at national level via meeting, even physical meetings, maybe with a living lab. Then peer-to-peer exchange, training activities, and co-creation concepts, which we will roll out in the next years. And very important, it's free of charge. So you can, you will not go give a washing machine. If you register, you will give free information and access to all of the nice materials provided by the team of InnOFoodLabs. So, and secondly, I can already invite you to the next webinar, Connecting Farmers, Communities and Markets in Organic Agriculture, with important speakers from Michael from Organic Embassy, the Netherlands, Michelle Diomondo from Switzerland, Camilla from our living lab in Denmark, and Auba Capo from Terra Nostra, even a living lab in Spain, will report on their exercise, on their implementation tests with innovations, and for sure introduce their projects. So warmly invited to the next webinar. And this gives me finally the chance to thank to Nina, Iveraina, Julia, and especially to our speakers. It means Bernard and Rodolphe for being ready to do this seminar. And I very much would like to share very much thanks, many thanks to all of you who have joined this webinar. I hope you appreciated it, and see you next time. Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.